Hello everyone and welcome to the start of Season 3 of the F1 1998 to 2007 Ultimate Career Mode. Yes, we have made it to the year 2000, the dawn of a new millennium. Planes didn't fall out of the sky, computers still apparently work, and Formula 1 is here at the Bahrain circuit for pre-season winter testing, and of course to showcase to you everything that has changed since last season. Of course, obviously, if you're new to the channel and don't know what this series is, we have got a mod for F1 2020 that allows us to play from 1998 to 2007 using all of the classic cars, featuring the classic drivers and a couple of classic tracks, that of which we will talk about a little bit further on down in the video. Of course, as always, there will be a link down in the description below as well if you are interested in checking out this mod. It is a paid mod, but yeah, I would highly recommend it. It is really, really good fun. Of course, dramatic circumstances come the end of last year. After a points reset halfway through, because the mod broke on me, it was Michael Schumacher versus Eddie Irvine for the World Championship, and in a last race scrap that came down to a steward's decision, Michael Schumacher was your 1999 Formula 1 World Champion. Of course, he watched Eddie Irvine take the title the year prior, and of course, he really wanted to try and get that first crown with the Italian team. Of course, Ferrari head into 2000 as back-to-back reigning World Champions as well. They have really kick-started the new millennium in very, very strong conditions as well there. But Eddie Irvine, of course, has officially retired from the team, and hopefully this time round he has retired for good. So, of course, that meant Michael Schumacher, still, of course, the #1 driver within the organisation, and they have actually scooped up former McLaren test driver in Pedro Dela-Rosa. Yes, a rather left field move, one that I don't think a lot of us were expecting to see from the Ferrari team, but they were very impressed with all of his testing miles and his consistency, and thought it was finally time to take a punt on the Spaniard as well. There, of course, Michael Schumacher, as we head into this new era, is likely going to be, you know, quite comfortably the #1 driver in the team. And of course, yeah, with winter testing pace looking very, very good, he will be looking to try and crown himself a 4-time world champion come the end of the season as well there. But yeah, obviously Pedro Dela-Rosa, an experienced head. He knows what he's doing behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car, of course, with all of the new aids as well, traction control and ABS now implemented as well onto these Formula 1 cars. It's going to allow drivers to push more and more as they go through races there. And we have now got a tyre war between Bridgestone and Michelin as well. McLaren, of course, have come up short now 2 years in a row. Of course, famously, the 2 years that they did win Drivers' and Constructors' World Championships between 1998 and 1999. But they are still hunting down their first world title inside this series. Their lineup of Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard has remained unchanged once again there. I believe they are one of the only teams to have never changed up their lineup inside this series so far. And again, it looks like they are going to be the main threat to Ferrari as we head into the new year as well. There, of course, Mika Hakkinen, he's been brutally consistent on his day, you know, absolutely unstoppable when he gets things right. It's just very much a case that in years gone by, McLaren don't tend to get it right all too often, and he is woefully unlucky as well in this series. So many times have we seen him being involved in unlucky contact or a spin or a mechanical failure or something. You know, he very easily had things gone his way, wrapped up both of the previous World Championships, but neither of them have gone the way of the Flying Finn, and he is still eyeing up his first Formula 1 World title as we head into the new millennium. Maybe, you know, we could see McLaren as the dominant force, a bit different to, of course, obviously what we know happened IRL between 2000 and 2004 there. But yeah, McLaren, of course, they've obviously still got arguably the strongest lineup on the grid. David Coulthard, you know, the Flying Scotsman as well in that second car, always looking pretty racy. And, you know, if Pedro Dela-Rosa starts to struggle or can't quite get into the groove early on in the year, maybe, just maybe, McLaren could gang up on Michael Schumacher and finally walk away with the crown that they want so badly in Formula 1 as well. Moving on, though, down to the biggest surprise of 1999. Of course, it is the Jordan Formula 1 team. Clearly, here in winter testing, they were testing out a new levitation device on the car. For some reason, the wheels just were not showing up with the Jordan, so a little bit peculiar, but we'll try and look past that as best as we can. Obviously, they had a really good year last campaign. Actually quite surprising with Matt Beard behind the wheel as well. But it has all changed down at Jordan for the new year. Matt Beard didn't feel like the team's progression was enough into the future. And of course, as we're starting to see more and more factory teams in the world of Formula 1 as we head into the new millennium, he decided to jump away from the team. Now, Ralf Schumacher is now joined by H-Frentzen at the Jordan teams here. Ralf Schumacher coming in alongside the German there, who of course in real life was the one that almost won the 1999 world title as well. Had just a couple more things gone his way there. But Jordan, they're looking competent as we head into the new year. They don't really want to, kind of push the boat out too far. They don't want to overstretch once again. And it's going to be interesting to see how they get on over the course of the campaign. For them, it will just be more about trying to solidify that P3 finish that we saw last year. Of course, utilise all that prize money to the best of its effect. And of course, losing their number one driver from last season, though, has certainly made things a little bit more difficult as we head into the new campaign. Rumour is kind of around the paddock, though, that they aren't quite going to be able to live up to the hype they saw last year. And, of course, using those Honda Mugen engines as well. Obviously, with the BAR team bringing major upgrades as well to their facilities, it might well be that we kind of see BAR potentially becoming, a threat further up the order after a shocking 1999 season as well there. But Jordan, always ones to watch, always an unpredictable team. It is certainly going to be exciting to see as to how they get on as we head into the new year there. Next up, though, is going to be the Williams Formula 1 team. They are joined by Jacques Villeneuve and Alexander Wurz, who I believe once again has stayed with the organisation there. Two obviously very, very good drivers. Jacques Villeneuve, of course, wraps up the 1997 world title with the organisation. Took last year away with BAR. Didn't really work out for him, so he has come back to his, kind of team as well there. And of course, Williams as well, now with BMW power units as we head into the new campaign. I'll be honest, BMW Williams was actually where I was intending to go inside this series, but we got completely snubbed in the end. We were meant to be joining Alexander Wurz at the organisation, but Jacques Villeneuve basically told the team he'd come back and pretty much drive for free. I wasn't willing to do so. I still want like a helicopter and a fancy race car and road car and things like that and a nice big house. So unfortunately, we were completely snubbed by Williams there, and kind of shades of their real contract negotiations with Jenson Button back in the early 2000s as well. But Jacques Villeneuve stole my seat with the organisation, so hopefully this year, once again, we're going to try and get the better of Jacques Villeneuve, but he remains as one of the drivers that I have beef with within this game. And Williams, of course, obviously the last couple of years have been really tough for them, but BMW have put a lot of development in behind the scenes, so it is surely going to be a bit of a return to form from the organisation that, of course, dominated so much throughout the early and mid-1990s. It really was just through 1998 and 1999 that we kind of saw Williams IRL struggle a bit for pace against some of their biggest competitors as well there. But with Jacques Villeneuve back at the helm as well, surely we're going to see Williams back on the top step of the podium and maybe challenging Ferrari and McLaren as well there. Stewart have got an all-new look as we head into the new campaign, and an all-new name being bought out by the Jaguar team, obviously under the Ford Motor umbrella, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see, of course. Jaguar, kind of like the British Ferrari, as it was described back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, of course. Lots of history, both in Formula 1 and, of course, probably more famously on the roads of Le Mans as well there. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they get on as we head into the new year. However, both of Stewart's drivers have been retained as well. Of course, they had a really, really good campaign last year. Rubens Barrichello and Jan Magnussen, of course, both really two drivers that were very, very consistent and were able to, kind of battle Jordan and occasionally McLaren and Ferrari when things went their way. And of course, obviously now with the might of Ford behind them as well, with all that financial backing, surely Jaguar are going to be a force to be reckoned with as we head into the new season as well there. Of course, that might not be the case. We saw in real life Jaguar probably one of, if not the biggest disappointment of the early 2000s, only for Toyota to kind of trounce that later on in the decade there. But things can be different in the Ultimate Career Mode. Occasionally, you see teams that, kind of struggled in real life get on a bit better inside this game. It isn't quite, a complete recreation. There is some differences as well in terms of performance and, kind of the driver lineups as well. Hence why we are making this video today. But Jaguar, I think, again, could be ones to watch. You know, there's so many teams that have a lot of potential to deliver. It really is anybody's guess so far as we look up and down the roster. You know, there's so many teams with potential heading into the future. Like I said, yeah, this season is going to be very, very exciting there. And the same, maybe not quite so much, can be said about Sauber as well. Of course, you know, a decent lineup. They're quite happy. They did pretty well last year. You know, kind of got the results we were expecting from them. But they've actually got an all-new lineup as we head into the new millennium as well. They're Trulli, a Italian rookie who is coming in after setting the field alight in a Formula 3000 last year. He is being partnered up with 1996 world champion in Damon Hill, of course. Yeah, Damon, He's been very topsy-turvy, obviously, since he left that team, of course. Tried to take some time out, has, you know, kind of got the F1 itch once again. Let's not forget, obviously, at this time, he's almost turning 40, so he is very much towards the end of what has been quite a short-lived Formula 1 career, but clearly wants to kind of almost steal the Jean Alesi role, you know, kind of an older driver going back to Sauber to finish off their career. Jean Alesi obviously did that back in the early 2000s. Kimi Raikkonen as well, of course, much more recently went back to Sauber after both starting and finishing his career with the team. It'll be interesting to see, yeah, whether we end up with Kimi Raikkonen showing his face at some point in this game as well. But yeah, Jarno Trulli, of course, he's going to be looking over to the other side of the garage to try and gain as much data and insight as well as he possibly can from Damon Hill there. And of course, yeah, I think a lot of people expecting the Brit to lead the team. You know, Sauber are a team that can occasionally deliver quite a good car. But yeah, certainly so far this year, of course, especially with, yeah, so many big manufacturers coming in and factory teams, it might be a year where Sauber get a little bit rocked and they've just got to try and tread water a little bit more than we've seen in previous campaigns there. But yeah, it's certainly going to be exciting to see how their new junior goes up against Damon Hill as well, of course, because, you know, Jarno Trulli, he could be one to watch in the future as well within this series. Next up, though, as we head further down the field, of course, probably one of the kind of more lackluster teams, it must be said, last year has got to be Benetton. Giancarlo Fisichella is staying with the team, and he's actually now joined up by former BAR driver in Jos Verstappen. Yes, a team that is kind of, again, another one that is a little bit unpredictable. Obviously, they've got the Renault power units. There are more and more rumours that Renault could be potentially looking at kind of coming in as a, you know, true factory operation in the not-too-distant future. So, you know, Benetton, they've kind of got safe backing behind them. They've got, you know, a safe pair of hands watching over them as well as an organisation. But yeah, Fisichella, you know, incredible driver on his day, but too many times last year did we kind of see him struggle, end up outside the top 10 and then not really able to make his way back up inside the points. And obviously Jos Verstappen, well, I think the less we talk about Jos Verstappen, the better. I'm waiting for the day he gets fully dropped out of this career mode, but ultimately I get no say over it, of course. It's just what the game decides happens inside this series. So Jos Verstappen, yeah, has been kept around on the grid for yet another year with yet another team, of course. Yeah, his time with BR last year was a very, very difficult one, and as now that team apparently is meant to be throwing more and more money at the project, it could be very, very difficult, you know, for a driver like Jos, who, of course, you know, raced with Benetton throughout some of, I believe it was 1994, got absolutely wiped by Michael Schumacher. I think, yes, he's come back to this team this year. He's hoping that doesn't happen once again, otherwise his Formula 1 career could be well and truly in the bin. But yeah, the very distinctive light blue colours of Mild 7 as well. It's going to be interesting to see how they get on over the course of the year, but ultimately, yeah, I think they're another one, a bit like Sauber, that might get swallowed up and pushed towards the rear of the field. Another team then that is looking to try and move forward this year, of course, has to be BAR, and after a pretty lackluster first campaign, they are hopefully coming back and kicking on strong this year. They massively underestimated, you know, they weren't really planning on going for a full effort throughout 1999, and they have poached myself there. Yes, after Williams, of course, and BMW weren't interested with Jacques Villeneuve willing to make a very cheap move, and of course, obviously, Jordan using those Honda engines last year, we have decided to join the main team there. You know, I will admit that there was quite a lot of money offered me. There were quite a lot of zeros towards the end of that check. But ultimately, winter testing paces looked very, very good. And it might actually be a bit of an inspired move for myself. We are joined by fellow Brit in Johnny Herbert, of course, a man that obviously saw, I think it was 3 Grand Prix victory, wasn't it, during his time in Formula 1. none of which admittedly came with the Honda team. But yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see how we get on against Johnny as well there, of course, especially now where we've had a little bit more time to embed ourselves in the world of Formula 1. We're feeling a bit more confident we can come into this new year and really fight against more experienced teammates as well there. But it must be said, obviously, with the ABS, with the traction control, it has certainly made these cars a very, very different driving experience, and that was kind of something that the Jordan worked really, really well on last year. It felt nimble, it felt agile, hence why we were able to take that win at the Mexican Grand Prix right towards the end of the year, didn't we, as well? But yeah, once again, though, sticking with Honda power inside this series, but now we've got a big money drive with a big team that hopefully we're going to be able to bring towards the front of the Formula 1 world there. We now look towards our two real true backmarker teams within Formula 1, of course. First up is going to be Minardi there. Jenson Button has made his Formula 1 debut. It has been confirmed he will be joining the team ready for the new 2000 season. Of course, formerly, a BMW. He had close ties with them, and Williams obviously being British, and also Honda as well. It was a real toss-up between the rookie or myself to join the BAR team. But ultimately, they felt obviously trying to make a big leap forward this season. They needed a little bit more experience on their side. And yeah, Jensen is to be joined by Nick Heidfeld, another young German rookie at the Minardi team. But ultimately, Minardi, it's a team that I'd really, really love to see deliver inside this series. Admittedly, last year they did get the better of Arrows when all was said and done. But yeah, it really, really is looking like financial constraints once again is making things more and more difficult for the team to operate. They'll just be looking, I think, once again to tread water. Maybe they can spring a surprise. Maybe they can get a little bit closer to Sauber or, Benetton, things like that. But yeah, I think once again, their battle is likely to be with Arrows around them. So it's going to certainly be interesting to see how they get on over the course of the year. But that being said, two young drivers with a lot to prove as well. It's going to be interesting to see who gets the better between them. Heidfeld, of course, yeah, the feisty young German. Jenson Button, the feisty young Brit there. And of course, yeah, both with a lot of success in a Formula 3000. I'm really genuinely intrigued to see those two and Jarno Trulli, of course, the rookies, as we head into the new year. It is certainly an exciting time for Formula 1, and I can't wait to see how any of those drivers get on as well. And of course, last but not least then, my first ever team inside this series. Let's take a look at the all-new Arrows car, and this is the Arrows that I remember, the gorgeous orange livery on this machine. And it's Jean Alesi. Obviously, we mentioned him a minute ago. He's decided he is going to join the struggling team there, of course. They failed to kick on last year after the highs of 1998, but Jean, I think the most experienced driver on the grid at this point in the early 2000s. He is hopefully going to try and have a little bit of fun with the team, try to revitalise them a little bit as well there, especially with a bit more sponsorship money coming through. And he is joined by other experienced driver in Mika Salo. Yes, so actually a very, very good lineup for the Arrows team, and that might prove very beneficial in their battle against Minardi over the course of the campaign. It's almost it's a bit of an odd comparison, but I would describe it between like Williams and Haas in 2021. Two cars that are actually quite similar, but obviously in the Williams team, you had a George Russell with a bit of experience under his belt, and Nicholas Latifi, I guess, but obviously you were going up against a Haas team with two rookies that obviously had no idea how to set up a car. It is certainly going to be exciting to see, and personally for me, I hope we see Arrows get the better of Minardi this year as well. Of course, there's prize money for all top 10 teams, so hopefully it's not going to be the end of the world for either of them. But yes, certainly, with Ferrari, with McLaren, with BMW Williams, with BAR, with Jaguar, there are so many big money teams now in the world of Formula 1. It's very much that they need to kind of bring in development as soon as they possibly can. Otherwise, they are really, really going to be left behind in the not too distant future. But the Minnow teams, they make Formula 1 great. I will be trying to keep a close eye on them where I can. Hopefully we're not going to be battling them too much, though, it must be said. Maybe I will try and check them out if we're lapping them at any point this year. But Arrows, that car is gorgeous. I reckon it's my favourite livery heading into the 2000 season. So I wish them the best of luck. Taking final look then, just obviously the final little housekeeping bits as well. Of course, we have still got a 16 race calendar that makes up this season. We kickstart, of course, in the land down under at Albert Park, Australia, before Formula 1 makes its debut Grand Prix at the Vietnam Grand Prix at Hanoi. Of course, a highly anticipated circuit. I can't wait to drive there before we head across to Shanghai. Spain, as always, the first round of the European leg before Monaco, with a quick hop over to Canada before we return for the French, Austrian, British and Hungarian Grand Prix before the summer break. Then obviously we head to Belgium and Italy before the flyaway season begins, with Japan, USA, Mexico, and last but not least, of course, the season finale has to be held out in Brazil. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this pre-season testing video as well. If you have enjoyed it, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. Round 1 of the year from Albert Park, Australia will be going live this Friday. So yeah, Formula 1, the classic career mode is well and truly back. The V10s are going to be screaming. I am so excited for it. Like I said, get yourself subscribed. We are mighty close now to 131,000 subscribers. And yeah, let's get this thing going.